I'm Jake.
I'm Via.
And today we're discussing if the class of 2026 is cooked or not. Smartphones didn't just change how we communicate, they changed who we are. We used to meet people, now we follow them, and we struggle to make real interactions and connections, and we prefer talking online through text, calls, or DMs. Because of our phones, we have become the loneliest generation with a loneliness rate of 73%, revealing the deep social cost of our phones. Despite being able to talk to people across the world, our generation is lonelier than any other previous generation. Phones and the internet do have their benefits, but with their drastic negatives, it begs the question of, do the positives outweigh the negatives?
I agree with that.
I'm not done, but,
Just
they could go through there, but they'd rather make all that noise. Would we be better without? I believe the more we scroll, the less we live in a real reality. And obviously, I struggle, but so does everybody. Gen Z is already cooked beyond belief. And so what's next? The next generation might not even want a human interaction or human connection at all. They might prefer AI to real people. The question isn't whether phones have ruined us or not. The question is whether we will ever be brave enough to put them down. So, if phones vanished overnight, would society be able to rebuild real social skills, or are we permanently cooked?
I think that phones have been around for long enough for it to go through different generations, and it's already affected through millennials to Gen Z to Gen Alpha, and I think that it's so engraved in us now that real social interactions haven't truly happened in a long time due to it being so important to how we do work these days. Like, it's ingrained in our tech industry. We use it for our homework. We use it to communicate with people and update. We use it for news. And so I think it would be really hard to change how we live without phones, because we're so used to how quickly we get information now. And social skills have already been on a decline since they've been developed. So.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not even like if the class of 2026 is cooked. It's like, because we're seeing it in everything. Like, even the article, it says, technology has created significant generational divides in the workplace. Younger generations grew up immersed in technology, while older generations were introduced to it later in life, and they've had to adapt. And it's like the difference, because the older generations are so used to having real interactions and real social skills that they are having to shift how they work and how they live their life because of us and our generation, and it's the same back. So it's like, the adaptation to like communication just in general is overall, like, it's really hurting a lot of people, and not just our class.
Yeah. And to add on to that, I also think it's not affecting just our social skills, but like our intellect. Like, this girl on one of the third posts, she says, "We suck at evaluating legitimate sources and fact-checking. Social media puts out information fast and furious, and any idiot with a camera can look official or sound like they know what they're talking about." And I think that's one of the things that is going to really change how we do research, or it's going to affect a lot of jobs in the future, news articles, and since there's not that many restrictions on information right now, in the future there's probably going to be terrible media literacy due to the fact that people just listen to anything they see because they think anything's trustworthy. The amount of followers or likes that people have, they deem it to be trustworthy just because it's widespread, and that's going to mess up our education. It's going to mess up how people learn at school, and it's just going to downgrade all of the effort that people try to build up like educational systems for.
Yeah, like the tools we have been provided is what you in some way is a step up, but the way we are using it is making us take a step down as like actual humans and people. And I mean, and I 100% agree, because it's like even in my world issues class, we've learned that like people in like Albania and like Eastern Europe and even in like the Middle East have been using Facebook to create false like information posts and all these things that have like gotten people killed in Ukraine, like just all these things. And it's like people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just spitting out false information. And it's like, since, and as you said, like with there being so much like like such a big widespread of information being dealt out, it's like, what can we believe? And it obviously it's becoming a big problem with the things that we are seeing happening in these places. So yeah. And one thing, going back to like the communication thing, I think in terms of like one thing that the younger generations and the older generations need to do is just find a common ground where Gen Z isn't asking and pleading with Gen X or Gen whatever it is to like just constantly use technology, and the same back that the older generations aren't constantly asking Gen Z to never use technology. So I think that if they find like a common ground, I think that will obviously help, but I think we're still a bit cooked.
And going back to the question you asked me before about if, adding on to how I was saying that like generations were going to be affected by this, about how it like affects different generations in the workplace and how we should like adapt and be on the same level. On the third document, it talks about how the differences between the baby boomers and millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z, they kind of take criticism from the workplace and how it differs. So baby boomers, they would rather see like results from their work, and that will like confirm them with how well they're doing. Gen X, they would see criticism by result, but due to the fact that social media has changed validation for Gen Z, like they seek validation through like likes or shares or views, comments, all that. In a workplace where they don't receive constant validation, or they don't receive like good feedback, they feel alienated, or they don't have like a good standing in their job, and that's also a reason why Gen Z commonly job hops, and they kind of have a hard time. So do you think in the future the job market is going to be affected by how Gen Z like performs in their work now than to back then?
I mean, 100%, and it's not even things that Gen Z can control. Like even recently, Amazon fired like 100,000+ employees and replaced them with some AI robot thing that can do their job free of pay. So these these like companies are going to do whatever will make them the most money, even if they're already like valued at over $1 trillion or whatever it is, and just because they want to make more money, and it will affect them very little. They're going to make $100 million more, but it's, I mean, very little money to them, while our generation and future generations and older generations are all the ones that are actually going to struggle with it. So I think that it's going to get to a point where the economy and gosh, I forget the word, but like the amount of people that don't have jobs, it's going to just increasingly get higher and higher, while the poverty rate is just going to continue growing. And I mean, that even is like close to one of my questions where I asked, it's like, if Gen Z is this cooked, what will future generations be like? And I feel like you kind of already talked about that, but it's like, I mean, if you could kind of go further in it.
Yeah, I think for future generations, we already see developmental issues, like standard development that should be reached by like children at a certain age. They should be able to read, they should be able to write, they should be able to socialize with their peers, but there's a lot of kids at this point that, especially kids where they've been introduced to technology at like since like newborn age, they are not reaching the standard like markings for growth. Like they're not reaching like a certain point of education. They should be reaching like there's a low amount of literacy in that age. There's not any social life between them because they're so used to like those quick like dopamine hits from just like watching YouTube, watching Insta Reels at such a young age. And if that continues, like I think our intellect generation by generation is just gonna go down and down and down unless we do something and restrict phone usage.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the article, it says that over 1/3 of teens say that they're online almost constantly. And I mean, even to like bring it into my life, one of my sister's friends, she works at an elementary school, and I asked her this past weekend if any of them have phones, and she's like, pretty much every 5th grader has a phone. A lot of 4th graders have phones, and even 3rd graders are having phones. I didn't even get a phone until 6th grade, and I even think that that's a little early because, I mean, around middle school maybe is a decent age to get a phone because you're doing more outside of your house, and it's good to be able to call or text a family member or your parent to pick you up or something. But I think having a phone in elementary school, which is such an important time of your life because you build all these social skills, and we can even see it that the downfall of social skills really happened for our class really happened in the end of 6th grade and through 7th and beginning of 8th grade, and it was because of COVID, where we couldn't go outside to talk to our friends. We had to talk to them online, and so it gave us 5 minutes to think about what we say, but now to have a conversation with somebody, you have to come up with what you want to say on the spot, so you don't get that kind of time. And I think it has, I mean, not only ruined people in the classroom, but or not like just their like social skills, but it's ruined their attention spans and their focus. And it even says that Gen Z reports higher anxiety and depression rates than any other previous generation. And I mean, if you line that up with when phones and the internet and all these things just became so big, it kind of makes you think and wonder if the reason why this is all because of social media. And I think it's also, I mean, our generation is also the number one generation that commits suicide. And I think that, and it also says that 73% of Gen Z report feeling lonely despite being the most connected generation. And this draws back to what I said. Our generation, we are able to contact people all over the world, and yet we are still the loneliest generation. And I think it's kind of, it's not good.
I agree with everything that you just said, and adding on to the part where you were talking about like face-to-face conversations, like communication without social media. This girl in one of the articles was talking about exactly that, and she says, "It ruined all of my friendships. When I was younger, I played with friends. We ran around and rode bikes and climbed trees. We even built a 5-level treehouse in the woods. But then the first of my friends got a phone. Suddenly, we stopped going outside and started sitting around the house looking at videos. And I do see this in like daily, like when I'm hanging out with my friends these days. Like I do remember as a kid, like we used to do stuff like we actually used to like go out and like hang out and like partake in actual activities. But when one of my friends asks to come over, like we'll just be like laying on the ground on our phones and like barely interacting with each other. And there also says, I can't carry a conversation with my friends anymore because they'd rather talk to AI. And
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
yeah,
Um,
really bad.
And to even add on to that, AI is like, one, it's not real. Two, you can't actually have a connection with it. Three, there's a story where a boy killed himself because ChatGPT told him to. And it's just every single thing it says in the smartphone generation, a statistical portrait thing in document A. It's not hanging out with friends, no rush to drive, less dating, less sex, more likely to feel lonely. I guess all the previous things all go down once the iPhone released in 2007, but then the more likely to feel lonely and less likely to get enough sleep all went up. And it's just every single thing that is detriment and is negatively impacting our lives is all going back, and it's all starting when the iPhone first released. So I think going back to my previous question or previous thing, it's not a matter of class of 2026 is cooked. It's more if we will ever be brave enough to put them down.